please let me know. Making the decision. When a devotee is given a prognosis of 6 months or less, important decisions must be made concerning care. Perhaps the devotee has been receiving aggressive treatment for his illness, such as chemotherapy or radiation therapy, as a means to heal the disease. If so, doctors should now be advising him that it is futile to continue with such treatments as a cure because the illness has progressed to the point of being incurable. Comfort care rather than cure is now in order. In a study reported in February 19, oh, sorry, can Karuna Purnashakti please continue? Thank you.
In a study reported in the February 19th, 2000 issue of the British Medical Journal, it was found that physicians are often too optimistic in their prognosis. On average, doctors predicted that their dying patients would live 5 times longer than they actually did. Obviously, this adversely affected the medical, financial, and social decisions made by the dying patients and their families. Often, patients are encouraged to continue seeking aggressive, though ineffective treatments, which delay palliative care for comfort. Next.
Yes, you can continue.
To the non-medical patient, this can be confusing and misleading. Similarly, other medical personnel, including nurses, are often equally uncomfortable with the direct approach when speaking with a patient who is hospice appropriate. If you are hearing an indirect approach from the physician, you have the right to ask questions. Below are some suggestions. What is the prognosis? Should we consider any aggressive treatments such as surgery, radiotherapy, or chemotherapy? Is it too late for such measures as a cure? Would these or other treatments be helpful in prolonging my life? Would these or other treatments, when used as palliative measures, help ease the pain? Would you recommend hospice care at this time?
Thank you so
And
much.
remember, you always have the right to a second and even a third opinion from another physician.
Thank you so much for reading. Tisha, Maharaj, you can continue.
Once the devotees make the decision to accept hospice care, his work is just beginning. He will experience a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual transformation. I have told many patients and families who are new to hospice that there is such a thing as a good death. As devotees, we know this is to be true. If someone is physically, emotionally, and mentally pain-free, has other symptoms managed well. I'm sorry. I lost my place.
I'm so sorry.
I
That was my fault. I
I'm
went
sorry.
too fast down. I'm sorry.
I have told.
Stopped.
Okay, I'll just start from. I have told many patients and families who are new to hospice that there is such a thing as a good death. As devotees, we know this to be true. If someone is physically, emotionally, and mentally pain-free, has other symptoms managed well, and is rightly situated spiritually, he will experience an auspicious, most glorious passing away. Your role as a caregiver, combined with strong support from the devotee community, can help achieve this for the dying devotee. Spiritual care in hospice. In many ways, the hospice philosophy of caring for the spiritual needs of the patient coincide with our Krishna conscious philosophy. In both, death is a natural occurrence to be eventually experienced by everyone. Both teach that spiritual distress is universal in those comforting imminent death. Both encourage spiritual support. It would be difficult, however, to find two hospice professionals, even clergy, to agree on the meaning of spiritual care. When one is dying of a terminal illness, spiritual issues have a way of servicing and moving to the forefront. It is easy for a medical professional, even one working in a hospice, to miss or ignore spiritual pain. In this book, Notes on Symptom Control in Hospice and Palliative Care, Dr. Peter K. writes about the patient who may say, I seem to be wasting away, or I'm not eating enough. K states, it is tempting for the doctor to respond by asking about diet or dysphagia, or difficulty swallowing, when
Dysphagia.
dysphagia,
Yeah, dysphagia. Thank you.
difficulty swallowing, when it is fear of not existing that the patient is struggling to express.
Thank you so much, Tisha, Maharaj. Would anyone else like to continue reading? Aradika, thank you.
Hi, Krishna Madhiji. I'm not good at all. I try to read.
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna. Most hospice patients I have cared for express the importance of a strong spiritual faith when facing death. I encourage them all to become more introspective at a very crucial time in their lives, whether they were Catholic, Protestant, Jews, or Buddhist. I held their hand and prayed with them. With some, we discussed the meaning of a life as they saw it. Many wished to talk about heaven and hell. Some even mentioned reincarnation as a possibility. I gave them all prasadam, gave them flowers that had been offered to Krishna, and even had some taste charnamrit from the deities. I never told them to believe in something different from what they had trusted to be true their entire lives. I simply helped them to get in touch with their beliefs even more. It is interesting to note that I have cared for only one patient who professed to be an atheist. From the time he entered the inpatient hospice unit, he remained depressed in spite of receiving antidepressant medication and a great deal of emotional support from the staff. He refused to visit from the pastor and spoke often about there being nothing after death. Unfortunately, this poor man died very angry. Should I continue with it?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
As a caregiver for a devotee, you carry a big advantage. You both share the same beliefs and maintain the same goal of life. And what is that goal? In Bhagavad Gita 2.51, Lord Krishna instructs Arjuna, the wise engaged in devotional service, take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. It is natural for devotees to speak about spiritual topics because it is part of the Krishna consciousness process for self realization. In journal, devotees are very comfortable discussing death and dying. If you are fortunate enough to also have a support group of devotees in your community, then you the caregiver as well as the devotee you are caring for can take shelter in the soothing comfort of that association. But spiritual topics often exclude discussing spiritual pains, which for the dying devotee may take many forms, including fear, doubt, and a sense of urgency to become more spiritually enlightened. A good caregiver should not only be a good advisor, but a good listener and friend as well. Srila Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita 6.32, one who is Krishna conscious is a yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human beings. A devotee of the Lord always look to the welfare of all living entities. And in this way, he is factually a friend of everyone.
Thank you so much, Arati Kadavidasi. Would anyone else like to continue reading? Rajeshwari?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, I can read. Is it the paragraph starting with Srila Prabhupada?
It's the paragraph, the next one, the Dying Devotees Bill of Rights.
Okay, I cannot see that in my screen. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Can you move the screen up a little bit more, Mataji? I'm using my phone. Yeah, thank you. The Dying Devotees Bill of Rights. Once someone chooses to accept hospice care, he should be aware of some basic rights to which he is entitled. They are as follows. I have the right to participate in decisions concerning my care. Number two, I have the right to expect continuing medical attention even though my illness is incurable. I have the right to be free from pain.
Can I
Sorry,
to this? It is not always possible to be free from pain when you're facing the end of life, completely free from pain. The idea is to get the patient as free from pain as much as possible. It's not always possible to be completely free from pain, but as much as possible to have the patient. We want to have the patient as much as possible to be free from pain. Okay, does that make sense? Sometimes it is just not possible to be completely free from pain. The disease becomes very bad. So we just try to make it as tolerable as possible. Okay.
Sorry, before we continue, Rasika, can you please enlarge a little bit? That was a request. Thank you so much. I know sometimes it's hard to figure out how a computer works.
On it, I saw the request to have the font bigger.
Yeah, that we're trying to figure out how to. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can you move the screen, Mataji? Yeah, because the bottom I cannot see it. I don't know somehow.
Oh, yes.
Just keep moving the screen. Thank you. So number 4, I have the right to have my questions answered honestly. Number 5, I have the right not to be deceived. Number 6, I have the right to express my feelings and emotions about my approaching death. Number 7, I have the right to discuss and expand my spiritual realizations during this dying process. I have the right to die in Krishna conscious environment I chose. I have the right to die with dignity. I have the right to expect my wishes to be respected regarding what will happen to my body after death. I have the right to have help for my family in accepting my death. I have the right to be cared for by caring, sensitive, knowledgeable people who will attempt to understand my needs and gain satisfaction in helping me face my death. Any lesser treatment of dying Vaishnava would be an enormous injustice.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Mataji. Would anyone else like to continue? Greg Locke? Thank you.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Who will care for the Vaishnav? When a devotee is diagnosed with a terminal illness, one of the first things to consider is who will care for the patient. The desires of the dying devotee are of the utmost importance and should always be considered first when making such a decision. If you are the wife, husband, or adult child, you may want to be the primary caregiver. The primary caregiver coordinates and is responsible for the majority of care. Of course, the primary caregiver cannot expect to care for the patient alone. When first diagnosed, a hospice patient may not require round-the-clock care. He may be able to do some things by himself, such as bathing, dressing, and preparing meals. This independence should be encouraged, but as his condition declines, he will require more and more care from others. Although you may want to, it is not humanly impossible for one person to perform 24-hour care. That is why a team of caregivers, even if that means one or two people who can relieve you, must be considered. Naturally, the ashram of the devotee must be taken into consideration. If the devotee requiring care is a brahmachari or sannyasi, then obviously a male caregiver would administer personal care. Similarly, if the devotee needing care is an unmarried lady, a female caregiver is in order. If you wish to be a caregiver, certain factors must be measured. Are you healthy enough to perform care that most likely involve physical strain? Often, a hospice patient requires lifting, turning, repositioning, and assistance with walking. Even if the patient does not require this when first diagnosed, it is inevitable that he will. Depending on the size and weight of the patient, this can be very strenuous on the caregiver's back, neck, and limbs. Being a caregiver often means occasional nights of sleep deprivation. This can be exhausting. Can someone relieve you during the day so you can rest? If you are not refreshed, you will not be able to be of much help to your patient who needs you at your best. Do you have a job in which you can take a temporary leave of absence? Being a caregiver, especially the primary caregiver, can be a full-time job in itself. If your income is required, then leaving your job to take on such a tremendous responsibility may not be financially feasible. In that case, alternate caregivers who are willing to care for the patient when you are working may be the answer. I can continue.
So much. Oh, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, if you're happy for me to continue. When my mother-in-law became ill, she asked me to be her primary caregiver, but she also had 9 adult children. When she eventually required 24-hour care, I called a family meeting. I presented a copy of their mother's living will and discussed her wishes to receive comfort care only. I taught them about her medication schedule, how to evaluate her pain level, when and how to give additional medications for symptom management, the use of an oxygen tank, and how to give a bed bath. I also had a sign-up sheet for 3 8-hour shifts per day. We made a month-long schedule on a calendar that hung in the kitchen. My home phone number, work number, and cellular phone number were posted in clear sight for emergencies. We also listed the home phone number, work number, and beeper number of each caregiver. Then we devised a phone tree in which one caregiver would call the next one in line and so forth in case of a change in their mother's condition. I guess like a handover type situation. This way, no person was responsible to call everyone. I also hung up a large sign that read, "Do not call 911," to remind everyone that my mother-in-law had advanced directives in her living will that specifically stated that she did not want heroic measures performed on her, such as cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, when her heartbeat and respiration ceased. If one of her caregivers had panicked and called the paramedics to her home when one of those events had occurred, it would have infringed upon her basic rights as a hospice patient.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gopali, would you like to continue?
Hare Krishna. To increase communication, when one caregiver came on his or her shift, the previous caregiver gave a nursing report. We also kept a notepad next to each medication bottle and recorded when each one was due and the times when additional medications for symptom management were administered. Memory is short in this age of Kali, and accurate notes are essential. I remained the primary caregiver, but organizing a caregiver team to relieve one another every 8 hours avoided caregiver burnout. This subject will be discussed in detail in Chapter 9. The following are some topics that can be included in your own report to fellow caregivers. What routine medications were given on your shift? Did the patient complain of increased pain? What additional medications were given to relieve the pain? Did it work? Did the patient exhibit shortness of breath or anxiety? And what medications were given for symptom management? What time were they given? What was the outcome of these interventions? Remember to write the time these medications were given on the notepad next to the prescription bottle. Did the patient experience any gastrointestinal problems?
Yeah.
Problems such as constipation, diarrhea, or nausea? What was done to alleviate the discomfort? How often did he use the bathroom or bedpan? Was he continent? What and
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It went off for some reason.
What and how much did the patient eat during your shift? Did the patient sleep? How long? Was the patient bathed or massaged during your shift? Were the patient's teeth brushed, mouth refreshed? What skincare was performed, such as the application of lotion or repositioning to avoid bed sores? Did the patient discuss his or her impending death? Did the patient verbalize any spiritual anxiety concerning his or her situation? What is the patient's level of consciousness at present? Very alert, slightly confused, incoherent, or unresponsive? This report can be modified according to your particular situation. It is important to remember that accurate recording of medication administration and other interventions, as well as close verbal communication, are the keys to a successful caregiver team. The chart at the end of the chapter, created by Jusania Dasi, Harris, RNC, BSN, CHPN, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and a long-time nurse, can be enlarged and copied as it appears or used as an example. You went to the wrong place again.
Yeah, I'm sorry again. These arrows are not very helpful.
I think you must go down.
No, go down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. A chart at the end of the chapter created by Jusania Dasi, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and a longtime nurse, can be enlarged and copied as it appears or used as an example and modified in order to increase communication between caregivers. Using a chart such as this one is optional, but since many changes can occur within one day in a dying patient, it is beneficial to keep an accurate written record. Where will the Vaishnav be cared for? Whether a devotee is living in a temple building or will be cared for at home, many things must be considered in order to render the best possible care. This list will need to be adjusted according to the medical condition of the patient at the time of diagnosis. Additional considerations will have to be examined as the patient's condition deteriorates. If the devotee resides in a temple, please consider the following. Does the devotee have a private room? Does he have a private bathroom close to the bedroom? A private room is a necessity. It would be very helpful if the patient had a private bathroom, but this may not always be possible. Is the devotee's room situated in a quiet area of the temple so rest will not be disturbed? Does the room have air conditioning or fans for summer months, an adequate heating system for winter months, proper ventilation, preferably 2 windows with screens for a slight cross breeze in the spring and fall, and proper lighting fixtures that provide both a bright light and dim lighting when needed? Even the number of electrical outlets in the room needs to be considered. Often a great deal of medical equipment is required, such as an oxygen concentrator or a humidifier. Care must be taken to avoid electrical overload and can be a fire hazard. What type of bed is required? Traditional bedding on the floor is not always practical for a devotee patient. The floor may be drafty, for instance, which may cause the devotee to needlessly suffer with chills. Also, noise from the room below can be disturbing when sleeping low to the ground. Depending on his medical condition, the devotee may require softer bedding. Again, consider the desires of the ill devotee, but encourage what is practical according to his particular situation. Would the devotee be more comfortable on a bed with a mattress, box spring, and frame? Does he require side rails on one or both sides for safety? Several situations may warrant the use of a hospital bed with side rails, such as confusion, hallucinations, unsteady gait when standing alone, and previous falls when attempting to get out of bed without assistance. A hospital bed with adjustable head and foot controls may be useful for comfort, even if side rails are not required. Would a hospital bed fit in the room? How difficult would it be to have a hospital bed delivered if the devotee's room is situated on the top floor of the temple? Most medical equipment companies that rent hospital beds try very hard to accommodate special needs. And maybe I can pass?
Yes, thank you so much, Gopali. Thank you. Would anyone like to continue?
I can read if you like. Oh, Riti Gopika, sure, go ahead. Riti Gopika Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry. Is the devotee able to walk unassisted? Does he require one-person assistance? Two-person assistance? Does he live in a room that requires walking up and down stairs to gain access? If so, does the temple have a room on the ground floor that can be used? Even if the devotee is able to climb stairs at the beginning of his diagnosis, most likely this will become increasingly difficult and eventually impossible. It would be easier for all concerned if a move was made to a ground floor room before the devotee becomes weak and non-ambulatory. Does the devotee require a wheelchair? Is the temple wheelchair accessible with ramps? Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
The final journey. Is there a kitchen available to prepare special prasadam for the devotee if needed? Is there a refrigerator close by to keep bottled water, juices, and medications that require refrigeration? Where will the caregivers stay? Can they stay close enough so the ill devotee can be heard and have his needs met day or night? Is it a good idea to provide the devotee with a bell to ring when needing assistance? Ideally, one caregiver should be within hearing range at all times. Room monitors used for babies are useful, but do not always clearly transmit. Also, frequent battery checks are required. Is the room large enough to accommodate visitors if desired by the devotee? Can the devotee be easily transported to the temple room to have darshan of the deities? If the devotee will be cared for in a private home, then obviously not all of the above not all of the above will need to be considered. Still, the following should be well thought out. Will the devotee be cared for in a ground floor apartment or a one-story home so transport, if needed, is more feasible? If the devotee lives in a two-story home, should she be cared for in a downstairs bedroom if available, or in a living room, for example, where she can be observed and heard more easily? Some patients prefer to the seclusion of an upstairs bedroom. If it is decided that the devotee will be cared for downstairs, is there a way to screen or curtain off a section of the room for the patient's privacy? Is there a bathroom downstairs? Will a bedside commode be needed? Again, the privacy issue must be considered. Is the home wheelchair accessible? Hare Krishna, someone else can, if they want to.
Thank you so much. Would
Yeah.
anyone else like to continue?
I can read, Rasika. Yeah.
Of course, thank you.
Is the home in a quiet neighborhood? Is one room quieter than another? Does one room get more sunlight than another? Does the room have air conditioning, fans, good lighting, and adequate circulation? Will a portable heater be necessary if the room is drafty? Does the devotee require a special bed such as a hospital bed? Where will it best fit? Can the devotee see the household deities from where she is resting? Are there pictures of Krishna in his room? Can they be seen from where he is positioned? Is there a sound system so he can listen to recordings of bhajans and lectures? If desired, how can the devotee be transported to the nearest temple to have darshan of the deities and have association with other devotees? Would he be driven in a car? Can he be taken in a wheelchair? Are there devotees in your community who can visit the home and read Srila Prabhupada's books to the devotee? Are there devotees in your community who can occasionally provide prasadam for the patient and caregivers? Go grocery shopping? Assist with laundry? Each situation requires individual consideration. In a hospice situation, plans cannot be carved in stone because circumstances rapidly change, sometimes on a daily basis. Creativity and flexibility are required to adjust to an ever-changing situation. However, if you begin the care with a well-thought-out plan, keeping in mind that adjustments will need to be made as events are altered, you will avoid unnecessary frustration and anxiety in the future. What should we do?
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to continue? If not, I can continue for a little bit.
Something Sangeeta Mataji was saying.
Oh, Sangeeta Mataji?
Oh, I didn't volunteer, but I can read if it's needed. Should we travel to the Holy Dham? In the Bhagavad Gita 8:21, Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are non-different, being of the same quality. On this earth, Vrindavan, 90 miles southeast of Delhi, is a replica of that supreme Goloka Vrindavan, located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on this earth, he sported on that particular tract of land known as Vrindavan in the district of Mathura, India. Being able to leave one's body in the place where Lord Krishna performed his transcendental pastimes is a most auspicious event. Such a fortunate soul as this would surely receive the Lord's blessings. But such a situation must be well planned, since living in the Holy Dham means added austerities. Even the lengthy plane ride is rigorous and must be realistically decided upon according to the medical needs and physical strength of the dying devotee. Being accompanied by a caregiver who can administer medications, provide prasadam, and manipulate any special equipment, such as a portable oxygen tank, is, if needed, is essential. Since the first edition of this book was published, His Holiness C.A.R.E Swami has overseen the construction of a well-equipped and beautiful hospice facility in the Holy Dham of Vrindavan, India, called the Bhaktivedanta Hospice. This inpatient hospice has its own temple room with Jagannath deities. And then we got Chota Krishna Balaram, because it's Vrindavan, and is also just a few-minute walk from the Krishna Balaram Mandir. However, oh, sorry, I just lost it. I'm on my phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you highlight where we're at with
Yes.
this?
Yes. Just one moment. I think I went too far down with the arrows. Oh, here.
Yeah. However, if your patient prefers, yeah. Can you go down? Can you? If patient prefers, I need you to go down with that, like scroll down, put it down. Yeah, I'm on my phone. However, if your patient prefers to stay elsewhere in India, you need to consider the following factors. To begin, one would need to arrange for adequate housing. Ideally, it should be clean and comfortable, have a generator for electrical backup due to frequent power outages, have proper lighting and circulation, air conditioning and or fans for the hot summer months, some type of heating system for the winter months, have cooking facilities with a refrigerator and a private Western style bathroom. It would be best if the room were on the ground floor and was wheelchair accessible. In the West, this doesn't seem like a huge task, but when you're in India, I'm sure many of you know, it is a huge task. It should be noted that many drugs routinely used in hospice and palliative care in the West are either difficult to get or unavailable in India. In addition, some of India's pharmaceutical companies produce medicine in compound formulas, so the devotee may be taking unnecessary medications along with the ones that are needed. Medicines in India often come in injectable or tablet form only. As of this writing, alternate routes to oral medications, such as rectal or sublingual medications that dissolve under the tongue, are fairly new concepts in some places in India. Medications given by intramuscular IM injections are rarely used in hospice care. For a hospice patient who is eating poorly and who may even be emaciated, IM injections can be uncomfortable and unnecessary. Suppository medications and or concentrated liquid pain medicines given under the tongue are often required if a hospice patient is eventually unable to swallow tablets. And most of them will be unable to swallow medicine. Does anyone else want to read? Anyone else? I can't see the hands going up, so.
Actually, we should stop there because to respect the time that we have. So maybe Taravali could say some announcement now.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, okay, we just have a little bit left, but we can continue next session, I guess, for this chapter, for this section. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, again, for joining, and we hope to see you all next week at the same time. Please put your video on if you're comfortable. We would like to take a group picture like last time because we're hoping to promote it again and spread the word about this very important initiative to your friends and within your community, to your leaders, because we know that devotees will always need this kind of care in every place. So thank you so much. Sangeeta Mata, you want to say something?
Everyone, this care, everyone will be in need of this care. So we really appreciate you learning this and spreading the word. Thank you so, so much. Everyone have a great week.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Taravali, did you take the picture?
Hare Darpika.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Who's
Hare-
going to take the picture? Just to be clear.
Can we get on
Yeah.
camera?
Oh, you're muted, Taravali.
No, can you please take a picture?
Okay, I will take it.
Thank
Okay, just be prepared, please. And 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Oh, we have 2. We are many, so one more. Just one moment. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so don't let anybody out of the picture. So thank you everybody to participate today. We want to respect the time for everybody. So if you have any comment, question, you can put on the group. We are going to open our WhatsApp group 2 hours now. So you can comment there. If you don't have the book and you want it, you can, Travel is going to share the link. And please feel free to share this link of registration for our group. If anybody wants to invite somebody else, a friend, or somebody who need it, please feel free to share with your friends. So thank you so much. See you all on the next Sunday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada, Jai
Hare
Sangeeta Mataji
Krishna.
ki.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Jai
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Jai.
Krishna.